By the way, loving you on Instagram there. Philip Joseph Stock, you know him, you love him as PJ. And PJ, I thought what we do today is we'd kind of give Elliotte a little bit of a break. So Elliotte's still going to appear on the show, whether he talks or not. We don't know, and for this purpose, we really don't care. I just thought we'd get you to talk about Elliotte for 30 minutes here. Do you think you could do that? And we'll start with the beard. PJ, give us because you're someone who was rocking the long beard, the ZZ Top style, not too long ago. What do you make of that thing on Elliotte Friedman's face right now?
Well, it takes away from two things, I think, which are great. His hair, which seems I don't know what shoe he combs it with every morning, but it takes away and his tie knot isn't always crooked or somewhere loose.
Oh.
It can cover that now. But
I miss you so much. You have no idea.
We have some from our bands back together. We have some funny pictures from our years working together. Elliotte has one. I have him in this great T-shirt where he has a big beard. Kind of look like come out of the woods, and I think trophy husband. Your shirt.
Yeah.
When Elliotte calls, that's what shows up. It's like. Pretty much.
That's awesome. How's it going, Peach? This is going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, good.
Hang on. Whoa. Wait. Let's set the scene here. You are at your home right now.
Yes.
We can see the Bruins jersey above you. Give us, if you can lift up your laptop without getting into too much trouble here from our producer, Drew Livingston.
Hey, Drew.
If you could pick up your laptop and give us a little twirl around, that would be great.
Cole's Notes version of where I am sitting right now. I used to, when we moved into this house, I don't know, 17 years ago, I got the basement and the garage. The wife got the rest of the house. So I got the basement. It was kind of like guys, some workout stuff. I made a bar. I had some pictures up. And we started working for Hockey Night and we started having kids and the kids needed space and the wife wanted them out of her space. So she put them in my basement and she pushed all my stuff to one end of the basement. Playoffs comes around, which is a 2-month grind. So after year 2, my stuff is no longer just in half the basement. It's in one corner of the basement. Year 4 or 5 comes around. She's built a wall up and now my stuff is in the wall and I'm stuck in there and this is where everything is. So I actually made it into a little bar area with some guy paraphernalia stuff out of it. But again, year 4 or 5 or 6, I come back. My couches are back out in the hallway and she's put her gym equipment where my office used to be. So this is what the office /bar / now wife and kids gym kind of looks like. So we have pictures all around, dartboard. That's where the bar used to be. There's her treadmill. There's I don't know if you guys can see this over here. What
do you got? Going tight.
There's our Rudes.
Hey.
Yeah, nice. Rudes came. There's my buddy Bobby.
Yeah.
There's me getting beat up.
What fight was that? Do you remember that one?
Yeah, that one went over really well. And here's my other jerseys. The secret was some guys like to stay on one team. There's Gretz.
Nice.
And there's what your guys are going to be looking at in the background. That picture there was the year when they decided to change the jerseys from the home and the away when you always wore white on the road. And that went over really well because I decided to fight. I actually was Sandy McCarthy. I was playing for the New York Rangers. We were down 1-0 early in the game at MSG, and I sneak up behind him with one ref, and I slash him on the back of the legs. And I think, you know what? He's a big guy. He's going to turn around and do something, which I'm prepared for. He's going to punch me in the head. He's going to slash me. Just suck it up and get your team a power play. Well, he turns around, and I'm expecting this big. All he does is kind of push me. And in my head, I'm like, I can't fall or fake or embellish and go to the ground. I go, oh yeah. So I go to push him back. Okay, now he's going to do something stupid. And guys start to come in. Instead, all he does is just pushes everyone aside, and then drops his gloves and stares right at me. And I'm like, So I know he's a big lefty. My brother used to have those magazines called Tough Guys. Yeah, my brother, and I didn't really know much about the NHL or the guys in. I was more of I followed all the sports, not a ton about the NHL, But I knew my Tough Guy magazines from back in the day. That's all we had when we went to the bathroom, right? We didn't have our iPads or our phones. So I'd read the Tough Guy magazines. And I'm like, oh, shit, Sandy's a big lefty. Yep. I got to go. So I go like this, and with my right hand, I grab his left hand. And back then, there was no rules on our jerseys either. So by grabbing his left hand, I grab him here, and I'm going to try and work my way up. But I grab him here, he just goes like this, what? And his arm comes completely out of his jersey. So anyways, he landed like a lucky 17 lefts in a row. And that's my face after it. Actually, wow. Sorry, I'm taking over your show because I haven't talked to adults forever. I have 4 kids at home. That's like game 2 or 3 of the season. In training camp, we're actually in, was it Calgary? And we're with the Montreal Canadiens, and Alain Vigneault's our coach. We decided to play blindfolded soccer. And they blindfold you, and they have a guy behind you telling you where to go and what to do. My partner, Andrey Markov. Andrey at the time didn't speak English.
Awesome.
I ran headfirst into another guy, and my nose was bleeding everywhere. That fight was like 2 weeks later, so it didn't take much for Sandy to get my nose to bleed, but 17 punches later, he made it bleed really well.
Your nose doesn't look too bad, I got to say.
Yeah, it's the lighting. You know, Instagram, it's all angles. I got a light coming this way, a light coming this way, and the black.
Let me ask you about Markov. He just recently retired, right? And you look at the list of defensemen that Andrey Markov played with the Montreal Canadiens. Where is PJ going now?
Sorry, Jeff.
You got a picture of him. Oh, you got a picture of Markov. Okay, so you look at the list, like it's a laundry list of defensemen that Markov made better.
Yep.
Give us the PJ Stock thoughts on Andrey Markov.
Made people a lot of money. I think one of the things that Andrey Markov did was, because he wasn't flashy like a PK that was in town, Markov just did his business. Lidstrom is the best possible example of an Andrey Markov. He did everything so well, but not a lot of flair to it. You didn't know that he was doing it as well as he actually was. Like, you never saw Lidstrom take a crossover. You never saw Lidstrom really do anything fancy. But he did everything at such an unbelievable level. Markov was like that. And he made so many people around him that you didn't know that he was making them so good. I can go on by the amount of guys that had goals, career highs goals on the power play, how well they can pass it. But, you know, I think of all the players that he's played with, Michael Komisarek ended up probably benefiting the most.
Mm-hmm.
Just once they lost Markov, you realized how many flaws the Canadiens had on their blue line. And again, you didn't notice them because Markov really didn't make that many mistakes before, but it wasn't boring hockey. It just wasn't the PK hand on the ice, crowd going crazy, but he just did things simple and smart and easy. So he helped the guy, like, you know, just his stick position, his body position, helping in Komisarek. Marc-Andre Bergeron we had here on defense for a few years on the power play. Had a great year. Sheldon Surrey lit it up here. A lot of those guys did really, really well. And you look at the Canadiens' power play this year. You look at how they were in their own zone, how they broke out of their zone. I think they really, really, really miss a guy like Andrey Markov.
A question from Jason on Facebook. Best teammate you've ever had?
Hey, Jason. Can I say you two?
Well, we know at hockey night it would be Rudy. Like we know it would be Rudy at hockey night.
We had such a great time there.
Because Rudy never erased your phone.
Yeah.
You want to tell that story in Vancouver?
We'll get that. Let's get to Jason's. We'll get to that one later.
You know, I don't think there's best teammates. I think you just come up with guys that you have the most in common with. Like playing in New York, Wayne Gretzky was my teammate. I'm 22. He's late 30s. I'm making $10 a game. He's making $3 million. It's not that you're not. It's just you're just not as compatible. So I had some real good. Manny Malhotra in New York. We were really good and young together. Danny Cloutier was there as well. We're just young and growing at that time. You go to Saku Koivu. I was great friends with Saku in Montreal. We had a really good group of guys that lived together. In Brian Savage, Craig Rivet, we all kind of lived together in Montreal. Every team had some great. Keith Primo was one of my favorite guys when we were in Philadelphia. I can't really say one. My Boston days, obviously, Billy Guerin's one of my favorite people. Sean O'Donnell, Glenn Murray. I was really lucky to play on some teams with some great people.
Wrong. The answer is me and John Shannon from the World's Greatest Pregame Show.
I was going to get to that too. That's on the list.
We'll I got to tell you, Jeff, like you think about PJ in Boston. PJ, I remember what was okay. So we got to do the two because David on Facebook, any funny behind the scenes Friedman stories.
Behind the scenes Friedman stories from David.
We have talked about this periodically about how the 2011 Stanley Cup was absolute carnage off the ice.
Can I hang on? Can I frame this before you guys tell the story?
Go ahead.
So you guys are already there. Morrison and I are doing the iDesk for hockey night.
Yeah.
We fly in late. Like we get in not late that night, but I think we're in at like 10 or 11 o'clock, and we're going to the hotel, and we go out to get a drink, and we go by where you guys are. And I think you're like right across from the hotel. And I can't remember. I think it might have been Kelly. I popped by to say hi, and we're like, "Hey, what's going on?" Kelly's like, "Bad scene, man."
Well, that's
bad. You know what? Just go, guy. Bad scene here right now.
So for people listening, 8 o'clock is the time the national game, East Coast time for the finals. Every game's at 8 o'clock, and it's every second day. Sometimes with 3 days in between. So 8 o'clock is actually 5 o'clock out on the Pacific time zone. So we're 2 nights off, and it's kind of like we're a bunch of guys that have been in Toronto that now get to go on the road and just kind of be guys and no disrespect to our families or anything or the people at the work environment, but we're like out on the road and we're so excited. And how do guys celebrate when we get together, have some beers, and the stories you can tell a little bit different because not all the same people are around you. And we got Elliotte and I, Kelly, the whole Simpson, Huey, all the guys, the people behind the scenes, Jeff, everyone gets together in an environment where you're all in a hotel where you can drink. Whereas in Toronto, guys have to get home, so they can't come out for beers. They got their family they got to go to. We're all in a hotel, done at 8 p.m., and have like 2 or 3 days off. I don't want to drink. Elliotte is always the guy who's like, you have to drink, guys. You have to drink. So this one particular night where we're just having fun, and of course it escalates because we started a little bit earlier, and Elliotte's forcing it down our throats. And we always... we have those little group jokes that don't have to be shared here, but we pick and bug each other on little things, and then it's like I'm gonna one up you, and I'm gonna one up you, and then add in a week and a half of drinking, pretty much it's kind of one up like this. So I had the old BlackBerry, and
this is so bad.
Elliott's like, we leave our phones out because we're all buddies. Who cares? I just leave it out. But we had passwords back then. Well, we always have passwords, but. Elliotte takes it and he's... I'm like, Elliotte, get off my phone. He's like, I'm not giving it back. I'm going to break your code. He's like this, hold on. I know the solution now. Anyways, there was a rumor about after the 10th try to get in, it would delete or shut down your phone. We realized that night that not only does it shut down your phone, it deletes every name and number on your phone. It was, but you know what? There's a sacrificial lamb. And now we all know on the 10th try, you lose all your names and numbers.
Man, Simmer almost killed me on your behalf. That's what I remember about that.
It was, if that's the worst that happened to us, considering we were going Boston, Vancouver on no sleep back and forth for a few weeks. Some lost phone numbers. Who cares?
I remember, PJ, there was one night you said, we're taking you to a restaurant. You took the group to a restaurant in Boston, an Italian place, and you walked in. Jeff, we walked in, and the moment they saw PJ, they lit up. This was PJ's home. Like, what was this place? Like, I don't know, it was an Italian place. What's that? Pagliuca's. That's what it was.
Just off Hanover's in the North End. And it's just a family-owned restaurant, and we had a bunch of guys that'd like to go there after games, and they're great guys. I love those restaurants that the owners are just great people. And I'm saying a prayer for all those people during this time that we're all in right now, because if you can, support your local or wherever you guys possibly can. But it was one of those family-run restaurants that have been there forever, and the people were awesome. And the funny thing is, you guys kept bugging me because we get in, and I don't know why this happens, but I get with a bunch of Italians, I get an Italian accent. I couldn't stop. And the guy,
I totally forgot about that.
And I'm like, hey, whoa, pass the meatball. And they're all like, see their heads like, forget about it. Yeah, it was good times.
Okay, let me jump in on this one then. From Chris Traveler, PJ, can you talk about your jump from St. FX to the New York Rangers, which is arguably the largest leap in hockey history, and talk about CIS, CIAU hockey and its quality? Go X Go.
Go X Go. St. Francis Xavier is the university that I was at prior. And I just want to give some quick love to Canadian university hockey. It is, I know we really give a lot of love to the American programs. In Canada, we have some of the best hockey, but we get these players at 21, 20. So they're men, they're adults. And a lot of them almost all of them have come out of major junior. So they've been playing kind of that pro style for quite some bit. Now with the St. FX, my buddy Brad Peddle's the head coach there. They're in the top, 2, 3, 4, 5 in the nation every year. And just the hockey out there, UNB, St. Mary's, Acadia, they're just, that league is just a powerhouse. And I was lucky enough, you know how we're all in this position right now. We've obviously made some decisions that we weren't sure about, but have kind of pushed us or helped us alter or frame who we are today. And that was one of the decisions that I was playing defense in junior.
Victoriaville, right?
I was playing D in Victo. And I wasn't a great defenseman, but I was a good enough defenseman. At the tail end of my last year, they decided to put me forward to play with a kid named Danny Corso, who was a young St. Louis Blues draft pick, really skilled, really small, but in junior, the intimidation back then was one thing. And I don't know how it kind of started for me in junior, but I was able to defend myself. And I was an offensive defenseman, so they thought that would translate to me playing with Danny as a forward. I was a terrible forward, but I loved it. Like, I really loved playing forward. And part of the agreement was going to St. FX was, I wanted to go, I had a few schools I was talking to, I want to play as a forward. And just before my junior season ends, I get a call from the Rangers to go to the Rangers on a training camp as a forward, funny enough. And I get there and things go okay, not great, because how you guys have seen me play. I get sent down to, back then was Binghamton. And I get sent down to Binghamton, and the moment I get sent down, I'm like, okay, thank you very much. I'm going back to school. And this is the time of no cell phones. They sit me down in a room and they're like, no, we want to sign you. And I'm like, no, I want to go to school. They're like, no, I want to sign you. We're signing you now. And I'm like, I don't know what to do. I panicked. So what do? I didn't memorize everyone's number. I didn't have my agent's number. So I left and called my mom, Colette, get a hold of everything, and they had to get me out of there to go to university. I was so excited to leave at that time, and I went to a great program with some great people that are still friends today. Danny Flynn was the coach, and 1 year later, the Rangers came back and offered me again. It was hard to say no, not knowing how things would work out. I thought I'd start off in the East Coast League, and at the time, it was $1.60 on the dollar. Worst case scenario, I make $70,000 in 2 years and then come back and go to Concordia or St. FX or any school I can get into in Canada. But with $70,000 in your pocket as a 22-year-old at that time, it's a lot of money. And I make Hartford, and then 17 games later, I get called up to the New York Rangers. It was the hardest thing, I think, for a lot of young players is, and we're really hard on them. We are as a society and in the media. I was 21 at St. FX, chugging beers, doing keg stands, eating pizza, like not even pizza, like pizza fights, like jumping off cars, rolling down hills, moronic stuff. Not as dumb as erasing a number on a BlackBerry, but like just a whole. You're a college kid. And a couple months later, I'm playing with Wayne Gretzky, Pat LaFontaine, Mike Richter, Brian Leach, and now everything you say is gospel. You're a role model. You're someone that it just happened like this, and you got to learn on the fly and learn quick. And I think that's a real hard thing. Speaking to the media, how to say things, what to say, and we get so caught up on some words, and so do the public. So I think that was probably the hardest thing. But what a crazy ride, guys. It was awesome.
You know, when I think of you as a Ranger, and I love this story, and I've heard it, but for those that may not have heard it before, the Rangers-Islanders brawl, the line brawl, and the bubblegum story.
Yeah, it's a long one. Do you want me to Cole's Note version of it?
Give us the Cole's Notes. We only have like 10 minutes, but it's such a great one. Fried, you've heard this one before, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So our coach at the time was Mr. Muckler, and Muckler didn't like young guys with the fourth line. I'm a young guy in the fourth line. So you can imagine that I don't play pretty much past the 8-minute mark of every first period. Our line was me, myself, Bill Berg, and Darren Langdon. And Langer and I, we'd argue because if we got into a fight, one of us early in the game, we wouldn't get another shift. So we'd argue like, not now, wait till the next shift, give us an extra shift. Anyways, things would happen back then as teams had 3-4 guys. This particular night in Long Island, we're playing the Islanders, a couple games up to go in the season. I think there was no salary cap, so we were spending there where all 10 teams were spending here. Our first two centermen Wayne Gretzky and Patty LaFontaine. We had, like I said, Leach, Richter, Graves. We had the old Oilers team, but in New York. I was a kid in a candy store watching these guys every day. And this particular night, we kind of have to win to get into the playoffs. But if the Islanders beat us or we lose any one of the next couple games, they could end us. It's 2-0 with a few minutes left to play in the game. They score to make it 3-0, and the place is going crazy. And we get ready to go on the ice, and our guys kind of line up, and there's a timeout called. So Gretz comes over to Muckler and starts, leans into Muck, and he's like, Muck, what's going on? He's like, what? I don't know what's going on. Go out there and play. He's like, well, you called the timeout. He's like, I didn't call a timeout. So Wayne goes over to their bench and he's like, I'm not going to swear because you guys are good people, but hey, why the beep are you guys calling a timeout? And it was Mike Milbury at the time. We joke with Mike because we work with Mike as well. As Mike was kind of loving the moment. He told me that he was calming his team down. But we were done. So he was like in the stands, like, feel it. The building was shaking, just shaking. And it was awesome. And so he comes back to our bench and Wayne's like, they called it. And Muckler's like, what? What? You want to play that game? You want to play that game? Stalker, get your line out there. Stalker, get your line out there. I haven't played hockey in 2.5 hours. Like, I'm normally done. Like, I have no tape on my shin pads. My elbow pads are undone. I'm kind of sitting there. Darren Langdon's skates are undone. And the one thing in the NHL is we get an abundance of tape, an abundance of gum in the locker room. So much on a table in the middle. In this particular night, knowing that my night was done, I undid my tape, but I had stuffed my glove with Bazooka Joes. I had all Bazooka Joes in my glove, and Darren Langdon is sitting on the bench together at the end of like this. We're sitting beside each other where the door opens here. There's a spot for 2 people on the island, like on the bench. Me and Darren Langdon. That's how much the team really cared about us. We opened the door and sat here and talked. Some nights we'd bet on I Spied My Little Eyes. Some nights we'd play poker on the clock. This particular night we were betting which color I was going to pull, $20 a hand, which colored Bazooka Joe I was going to pull out of my glove next. Purple. No, it's pink. You owe me 20. Red. No, it's pink. I owe you 20. We did this for, anyways. Stalker, get your lineup. Get your lineup. Like, is he serious? Langer's like, let's go. Langer's like fixing his skates. I'm trying to empty the Bazooka Joes out of my glove. I take the water. I pour it all over myself. We go out there and jump on the ice, and we put our fourth line out there thinking this is going to be, I don't know what's going to happen, but this is going to be craziness. They put on their all-star line, which was Palfy, Trevor Linden, and Tchaikovsky. They put on J.J. Daigneault and Big Zdeno Chara, but Big Zdeno Chara was still a young guy, but he wasn't the beast that he is today. And, I'm lining up for the face-off, and I got my huge mouth guard in there, I'm gumming it, trying to wake myself up. I've been asleep for 2 hours. The puck drops, and I take my stick and I go to slash Trevor Linden right across the chest, like, this is on. This is craziness. We're going. But what happened was I couldn't get all the bazooka jugs out of my glove. So my fingers couldn't really get in my glove because they were still stuck in the end. So I go to slash Trevor Linden, like just holding on to my stick like this. And he's like, it hits him like this. It's like, what are you doing, kid? But my mouth guard's so big and I got gum. And I hit him again. And anyways, we all started jumping on them. And the hockey was like that back then. And the end of you guys got to YouTube it.
It's funny.
Cloutier comes down and fights their goalie. I end up getting Tchaikovsky, which I say, don't move. Don't move. And then Bill Berg hits Trevor Linden. Trevor Linden falls down. And then Tchaikovsky kind of pushes me in the face and runs to help his partner. And then I'm like, okay, well, I guess it's on. And then, anyways, no one really got hurt. And that's all that matters. And kids, violence is not a solution to anything. But the life of a fourth liner back then was pretty funny.
PG, I know you love Boston and I know you love Philly, but getting your chance to play in Montreal.
That's, one of the, it's proud. I know people think on media sometimes I give it to them, which I kind of do, just because I'm kind of the yin to everybody's yang here in Montreal. And it's just, I do it with fun because it's one of those, the Montreal Canadiens could do no wrong. And, today playing, I like to kind of, well, yeah, they've done wrong. And I give it to them a little and just to kind of play with people. But I look back at my time in Montreal and I think that's the one regret I have with my career. I wish I was better in Montreal. I just wish I was more confident. I wish I understood my role better. I wish, to be successful on a hockey team, every team player has to be in kind of the right chair. And I wasn't really in Montreal, and no one really was. And it's unfortunate because it was, I really did it. I wanted to do it for my dad. I wanted to do it for my friends. I wanted to do it for my family. And it just didn't work out. But I know Jeff Molson. I know the guys running the team, friends. I just want to see this team do well for this city because it's so passionate. I mean, this is you guys are in Toronto, so you guys know what I'm talking about. But we've been craving this for a long time, and it's been a tough go for the last so many years in Montreal.
Who are they most excited about? We talk a lot about Nick Suzuki and what the future holds there. I feel bad for a guy like Jesperi Kotkaniemi and the conversation around him, considering he's a high pick, he's a young kid, everyone's expecting a superstar right out of the gate. What's the conversation the Montreal Canadiens fans and their team as they project out 3 to 5 years?
You guys both know this, Jeff and Elliotte, as you guys follow them every day. Can they wait 3 to 5 years? They got a goalie in Carey Price. They got a Shea Weber. They have a couple of pieces that can't wait 3 to 5 years. So they're kind of real stuck in this position. And this is where the Montreal Canadiens fans get a little fired up on me sometimes because I look at it as it's a luxury to have Nick Suzuki and Kotkaniemi, and they're going to do really well. But the problem is that there's so many holes in this lineup that these kids are forced into positions that they might not have to be in. And with other teams, the salary cap kind of creates that in some situations. But they don't have the depth in all those positions. And the two guys you mentioned are two guys that are down the middle. Suzuki's playing at center, and Kotkaniemi's playing at center. But they're 18, 19 years old playing against, Bergerons, Kopitars, Malkins, Crosbys, they're not big bodies. And I think that's what is 3 to 5 years from now. And I really like Kotkaniemi's, the way he can see the game. I don't know if he has the speed to be a top player.
That's always been the knock on
him.
I
don't. He has speed and smarts, but the quickness. I don't think he has. I think that's one of the problems. I don't want to go back to Toronto. Like you guys watch Toronto every day, and it is a bit of a comparison. I think your centers are unbelievable, but I don't think they have that game-changing speed that Crosby gets on the ice, everyone backs up. McDavid gets on the ice, everybody backs up. Nathan McKinnon gets on the ice, everybody backs up. And that just creates gaps all over the ice. I don't really think there's anyone in Montreal that can really do that. And I think that's one of the issues. So 3 to 5 years from now, unless they get a number one center, and unless this Romanov really works, I think they're in the same position they are right now. Unfortunately, this is their year to kind of make a splash at the draft. But as Elliott's been mentioning all the time, and I'm listening to you guys, we don't know what that draft is going to be or when it's going to be. Mm-hmm. So it's a year where they could have stockpiled a lot of picks or traded them for a team to the Leafs or to Tampa Bay or to a team that is salary capped out for a player. But if the draft comes before the league, they can't give up their players. Yeah. So it's a lot of interesting questions.
All right, here's my last one for you, PJ. I know you've kind of talked about wanting to coach.
Yeah.
You're how old now? You're 46, 47?
I'm 44, but thanks, Elliotte. The beard.
You're 44, but you look 60.
Yeah, thanks. 45 in a week if you want to send gifts, anybody.
What do you want? What do you want for your birthday?
The old names that I had on my BlackBerry.
Booze.
I'm going to say more room in the basement.
I'm stuck in the corner.
What's the next phase of your life going to be? You're going to coach? You're going to be a broadcaster? What are you going to do?
Well, I tried the broadcasting thing. That's why I'm in my basement now. I don't know. I'm still working for RDS, still doing some fun stuff. My kids are at that real cool age. I'm proud to be a dad. I got a 17-year-old. They're all summer birthday kids. I will have in a few months an 18-year-old son and then 3 daughters, 16, 14, and 13. So it's one of those things that I love being around hockey. I love. I wasn't a player that was able to play it really well, as you guys know, but I.
Oh, stop that! You played 400 games.
Yeah.
Shut up!
Yeah.
You played 400 games in the NHL. Don't tell me how you weren't.
Hang on. Let's pause on this because I'm firmly of the belief that when you're looking at the NHL, there's no such thing as a bad player.
Yeah, you get in there, you can
look at. You know he's bad.
Be quiet.
Thank you. I can see it and understand it better than I can play it. So that's one of those things that I don't know how I want to get involved. The problem, the game is changing so much with the analytics and the skill sets and everything. And it's you got to be younger. You got to know how to talk to kids. You have to be able to adapt way differently. It was Mr. Cooper, John Cooper, who said it really well. He says, "You're not a coach anymore. You're a psychologist to 20 different players. You're coaching every kid kind of differently. It's no longer in my day the big team thing. So you got to be one of those guys with some give and take and some leniency here and talk things this way." So I think dealing with 4 kids during quarantine, I can do anything right now. That will get me out of the house. No, kidding. Kidding. I'd like to. I love the TV part of it. I think that's the one thing. We had a great group with Sportsnet and Hockey Night. I love being around hockey. So I don't know what the long term is, but hopefully it's around the game of hockey somehow.
I want to end on this one.
Yeah.
And I miss working with you, bud. That Saturday show we did with Shannon.
World's greatest pregame show.
So honestly, that was just flat out so much fun. That was like one of the highlights of anything that I've ever done in my career. That was a lot of fun. But to your career on the ice, like when you take a snapshot of your whole career, what's going to be picture number 1? Like you're creating a picture scrapbook of your career. What's the first picture you want people to see?
Good question.
It's not I've been really lucky to have some people say some nice things about me when I've played, and I don't love the fighting stuff that I do, but I do like it. I really do like it. I was never big enough, never strong enough, but I was able to do what I did, not successfully, but not unsuccessfully at the National Hockey League level, and find a roster spot. You know, I didn't score many goals, so it's hard to stay on a hockey team when you're not scoring. But, you know, I don't want to bring up the Stephen Pete fight, but I just love the announcers in that moment. I like the crowd in that moment. just all of that. There's a lot of stories like this, but I was a kid that worked really hard, and I'm proud of what I did for how long I did. I don't want to say that fight is great, but it is kind of one of those against all odds. It's not the size of the dog in the fight; it's the size of the fight in the dog, and that's kind of what. It's hard to teach that. I can teach you how to shoot. I can teach you how to stick handle. Can I teach you to compete at the highest level? And that's something that I'm proud
of. You should be.
Thank you, guys.
Pete, it's been a pleasure.
Awesome, guys. Thank you.
Let's not wait this long again to get on the same broadcast together. All right.
Question.
Hang on.
Question.
Yeah.
What is Elliotte like? Are you on your floor upside down? What are you doing? Where are you? Are you at the library?
This is my home office.
How big is that seal?
It's high. It's high. It's about 15 feet.
Jeez. I thought you were on your back on the floor, just kind of with your feet up.
I'm lying down, yes.
Yeah. So I got a stock talk tonight, which is I'm pretty pumped about. We have Jeffrey.
Yeah, promote what you're doing. Promote what you're doing.
Yeah, so on Instagram, I've been doing stock talk. Just started them. Just adapt. That's what we're doing right now this time of year.
Yeah,
we're learning to adapt and do things differently, and I'm trying to make myself different. As we asked each other questions, and I'm getting into that side of it as well to learn that side of the business. And this is going to be week 7, but I've had from Ray Bork to Eric Lindros to Dougie Gilmore, John LeClaire, lead singer of the Dropkick Murphys, and tonight I got lawyer called from Montreal, now lives in LA, Jeffrey Lenkoff, who represents the LA Lakers, the LA Clippers, the LA.
He owns the football team, right?
No. Tried to buy the Alouettes in Montreal.
Oh,
him and his brother's small town Montreal. His brother's produced and involved with Hawaii 5-0, 24. It's a crazy small town family that is now at that level, and he's got some crazy stories. Like I'm talking crazy stories. And he's a lawyer, and it's just kind of I don't want to always just talk the hockey thing, so I'm learning to do things differently with different people. So, and he's going to be awesome tonight at 7:15. Crazy.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Well, thank you guys for having me on.
Give us your Instagram handle so we can promote it.
PJ Stock 42.
There you go.
How'd you come up with that one?
You know what? It was a lot of thinking. I wasn't really sure how I was going to do it, but sometimes, you know how it is. A couple touches later, I'm like,
You know what, Peach? You should really be a producer because that right there is the closing shot. Well done, Peach. Always a pleasure, Moncham. We'll be in touch soon. Our guest this week on Ask 31 has been one of our favorites. Great guy, former NHLer, outstanding broadcaster, even better dude, PJ Stock. We are back on Thursday for more Ask 31. Have a good couple of days.